the war
यानी कि
to Europe,
पर्टिकुलरली
and
जो
of course
हमारे
the
मिलिट्री की
economic
इंटेलिजेंस है,
repercussions which
मैं
we know.
इनसे
So
रब्ता
in
पूरी
short,
तौर
here
पे,
आप किससे रब्ता
we're
रखते हैं?
मैं
only knowing
सियासतदानों से
or
और
reading
ब्यूरोक्रेट
a
से
lot
रब्ता रखता
about
हूँ,
what's on the
क्योंकि
the
अल्टीमेटली जो
newspaper and
हमारे
everything. Is
इंटेलिजेंस
there's
के इदारे हैं,
inflation
बाज़ का
happening,
आपको
there's
शायद
food
ये भी तो हो
इन्फॉर्मेशन लीक
सकता है
की
कि
जाती
अभी
shortage,
है।
जो
there's
आप बातें
energy
कर रहे हैं मैं
crisis,
फलां से
there's
रब्ता रखता हूँ, आप
unemployment,
एक
there's
गाइड बनाने
reduction
की
in the
कोशिश कर रहे हैं
नहीं
कि
नहीं
manufacturing
नहीं,
लोग
sector.
आप
ये
A
उमर
lot of
इससे
the
आपको
जो
पता है इस
industrial
बात का,
hubs are
यू नो,
shutting down
उमर आपको पता है इस बात
business
का,
because energy
और
is not there,
ना रखने की
right?
भी
There's
दुआ भी
lower
आपको पता है
growth
कि
and
ये
possible
देखें
recession in the
हमारी
coming
जो
years. So I'm
पार्लियामेंट
going
है
to
इसकी
talk
सैंक्टिटी
about the
है,
short term
हमारी पार्लियामेंट
and
को के
long
खिलाफ
term
साजिश होती है हमेशा,
implications
चाहे वो इमरान खान
of
हो, चाहे वो नवाज
the
शरीफ हो, चाहे वो कोई
Russia-Ukraine
भी हो, हमेशा
war
पार्लियामेंट को
on
नीचा
European
दिखाया
Union.
जाता है। तो
So
उसूल ये है
I'll
कि कभी
briefly
मैं
explain this
ऐसे
because
लोगों से
we
रब्ता
could have a
नहीं
discussion
रखता।
on
हाँ,
almost every
1999 में जब जर्नलिज्म मैंने
sector
शुरू किया
here.
था,
So
2004 तक मेरे बड़े
in
राब्ते भी
brief,
रहे हैं,
we'll
ये
talk
भी नहीं,
about trade
लेकिन
and
आपको पता
foreign
है
direct
2004
investment.
ऑनवर्ड नो
Short-term
कॉन्टेक्ट,
effects
हाँ,
will be about
उनमें से
1 or 2
कोई अगर कोई
years,
मिलने आता है
long-term
और
about
आपको
3
पता
to
है आए
5
भी हैं
years.
लोग,
आपने
So
कभी
trade,
दरवाजे
like I
बंद नहीं
said,
किए?
मैं मिल
production,
लेता हूँ,
exports
लेकिन
and
मैं उन्हें बता
imports
देता हूँ कि
to
भाई मैं आप
Russia,
लोगों से
reduced
मैं आपसे
capital
ताल्लुकात
आप
from
बाहर राब्ते
foreign
रखते हैं?
बस
European
आपसे
Union
दूर
funds.
दूर दूर
And
दूर
long
ही
term
ठीक
is
है,
there's going to
क्योंकि
be a lot
देखिए
of
जब आप इन
restructuring
लोगों
in
से
terms
राब्ते
of
रखते हैं ना, वो
supply
आपके
chains
काम
and
पर
outflow of
असरअंदाज होंगे,
FDI from
तो
Russia.
मैं ऐसे लोगों से राब्ता नहीं रखता, क्योंकि
Refuge
कल
in
कला
आप उनसे राब्ता रखते हैं जिनके काम पर आप
destruction.
असरअंदाज हो सकते
जी
हैं।
जी जी ये ठीक है, क्योंकि ये जो
Seen a
पार्लियामेंटेरियंस हैं
lot
ये बड़े
of
ज़बरदस्त
refugees
लोग हैं,
to Europe.
सियासतदान,
No
चाहे वो
long
किसी भी
term
जमात के हों, हमें उनकी नज़रियात से इख्तलाफ हो सकता है। खैर बात आगे चलते हैं। तो ये जो दो
effect
मुलाकातें हैं,
or even
ये
enter
पाकिस्तान का पॉलिटिकल फ्यूचर तय करने जा रही है। अब तय क्या होना है, तय क्या होना चाहिए, क्या कबल वक्त इंतखाबात होंगे? देखें, अब माहौल है महाज आराई का, पंजाब और मरकज़ की महाज आराई। मरकज़ का जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर है इसका ताल्लुक लाहौर से है, पंजाब से है। पंजाब नून लीग से छीन लिया गया है, और अदालत ने जो फैसला दिया है ये किसी को पसंद आए ना पसंद, अब फैसला अदालत का ही है, फैसला बिल्कुल अदालत का है। और लोगों ने हकीकत ये है कि लोगों ने 17 जुलाई के इंतखाबात में अपने वोट के लिए नून लीग को भी रिजेक्ट किया है।
In the
ये
long
याद
term, what's
रखिए,
going
ये
to happen
और
is they
नून
need
लीग
to
ने जो
reconsider
असर
their
के
reliance
वक्त
on
रोजा
the
तोड़ा है
supply
ना,
chain, which
ये
of
नून
course
लीग को इस बात की सजा मिली
will
है,
call
इन्होंने अपना
for
बयानिया
further
बेचा है,
deglobalization
इन्होंने अपना
and
बयानिया
eventually
बेचा है,
reduce
एस्टेब्लिशमेंट के आगे
the
बेचा है। तो
Coming
अब
into food,
एस्टेब्लिशमेंट
which
के बारे
we're
में लोग
just
कहते हैं ना
talking
कि
about, a
एस्टेब्लिशमेंट
lot of
ये और
debate is happening
एस्टेब्लिशमेंट वो,
about
एस्टेब्लिशमेंट
inflation,
सबसे बड़ी
higher food
प्रैग्मेटिक
grain
है।
prices, and
एस्टेब्लिशमेंट
cost
ये
short-term
देखती है
effect.
कि
What we've
इस वक्त
seen is
पावरफुल
that
कौन है,
Ukraine and
और जो पावरफुल
Russian
होता है
crop
एस्टेब्लिशमेंट
yields have
जाती है और
fallen
उसे हाथ मिला लेती
drastically,
है।
इजाज
reducing
मैं
global
ये जो
supply
आपने
chain
पावर की
and
बात की ना कि
damaging
ये
fragile
प्रेगमेटिज्म
developing
ये ओवरऑल
economies, and
हमारा
this
एक
would of
एलीट का
course
कल्चर है। और
would
मैं आपको एक
not be
एग्जांपल
long
देता हूँ
lasting,
जो
like
कि
a
एक
lot of
बड़ी इस
economists
सिस्टम
debate
पे और
are doing,
ओवरऑल
but
हमारी एक
continue
पर्सनल और
to increase
सोशल
and
लाइफ
food
पर
grain
बड़ी फिट
prices
आती
and
है।
of course leading
एक
to
दफ़ा हम ना
inflation.
एक चेयरमैन थे
Right now, what's
ये
most
जो
important and what we've been discussing
वो प्रेस
recently
कमीशन का
is
क्या
been the
उसका नाम
energy
जी
crisis.
प्रेस
Higher
फाउंडेशन,
energy
नहीं
bills,
नहीं
reduced
पता नहीं कोई जो
efficiency from temporary
पाकिस्तान प्रेस
reliance on outdated energy resources,
पाकिस्तान
there's
प्रेस
supply
नहीं
कमीशन,
जो
हाँ जी
प्रिंट
disruptions,
के
there's
रिलेटेड
added
जी
मामला
जी जी
costs
मैं
डील
of
समझ
कर
रहा
रहा हूँ।
alternative
जी
जैसे
sourcing
जावेद
that
इकबाल भी उसके
Europe
सरबराह
will
हैं।
हाँ,
have
लेकिन
to
जस्टिस
do,
जावेद इकबाल की मैं
considering
बात
the
कर रहा
मैं
हूँ।
समझ
ban
रहा
and
हाँ
हूँ,
sanctions
एक
that
और
have been
साहब की बात
levied.
कर रहे
तो
हैं।
मैं उनकी बात
Long
कर रहा
term,
हूँ।
of course,
तो
what
एक और साहब की
European
अच्छा
Union
वो ना
will have
मीडिया
to
को
do
बहुत
is
ज़्यादा उनके साथ
new
उनका पीएस
source
बैठा था तो वो
of
मीडिया को बड़ा टारगेट कर रहा था। अच्छा हम भी बैठे हुए थे, ये
energy,
पुरानी
right? We'll
बात है
have
जब
to
मीडिया
look
अपने
at
पूरे प्राइम पर
more
था,
of
रूज पर था।
integration with
अच्छा एक स्टेज पे
new
उसने
or use of
कहा जी कि
renewable
अच्छा हमने
resources,
कोई
or
माइंड वगैरह नहीं
eventually
किया,
if
उसकी
it doesn't
बातें
work,
सुनते रहे। एक
I,
स्टेज पे
as an
उसने कहा जी कि
opinionated,
ये
I'll
जिन जो है ना
pursue
ये
the
बोतल से
bilateral
बाहर
talks
आ
with
चुका है,
Russia, like
मीडिया
a
को वो कह रहा है।
one-on-one talk
अब
with how
इसको
to,
दोबारा बोतल में
end
डालने
this
की
war.
जरूरत है।
And of
इस
course,
पे ना वो जो
uncertainty. We all
चेयरमैन
know
साहब
there's a
इन्होंने
lot of
इंटरवीन किया,
precautionary saving
उन्होंने कहा
happening
कि
right
नहीं
now
वो
from
बात
the
सुन
European Union, but
ए जिंदे रहना
eventually they will think
बोतल तो
about
बाहर आ गया
what will
हूं असें
be,
जिन्ना दोस्ती करनी
probably
ठीक है।
trying their
ये
closer
जो है ना
economic
ये एलीट कैप्चर ये
policy
भी है
relations with the
कि
rest of the
जो
world.
भी
So
बंदा
we'll see
यानी
that
कि
what's
एक
going to happen in terms of
उस
uncertainty.
सर्कल से जो बाहर होता है जो ही वो
Now,
सर
let's talk
उठाता है
about the
वो
energy
उसको कैप्चर
crisis
कर लेते
because,
हैं, ठीक है। उसको
in the
यानी कि
last
बजाय इसके कि
1
उससे
week or
यानी कि
so,
अगर
there's
उसकी
so
उनको लगे
much
ना कि उस
of,
बंदे की वर्थ है ये हमें भी
I would
डैमेज
say,
करेगा, वो उसके
debate
साथ जो है ना
and
दोस्ती कर लेते हैं।
most of
तो
the
एस्टेब्लिशमेंट जो
newspapers are reporting about sanctions and energy crisis that's been prevailing right now. And this is more like, I would call it, the actual economic repercussion, which is impacting directly to European Union, and then it's impacting the rest of the world indirectly. So since February, there has been a lot of imposition of sanctions by European Union against Russia. Now, these include restrictive measures, individual sanctions, economic sanctions, diplomatic measures, and so on. Now, what are these sanctions? Now, these are sanctions which are bans, which are levied on either individuals, like I said, and individual bans would be travel bans or asset freeze. Now, what are travel bans? That means you cannot go to Russia, or nobody from Russia can come to European Union. asset freezes is any asset, whether in European Union, you have it in terms of monetary or otherwise physical assets, that would be frozen completely, and you cannot use them, you cannot liquidate them. Any monetary bank accounts of Russians or any other people who are supporting Russia, they will not be able to use it in case it's in their country. Economic sanctions are what's even more important to us, is the number of important export restrictions on Russia by European Union. So this means that European entities cannot sell their products to Russia, like export restrictions. Now, these could be not selling cutting edge technology, electronics and software, machinery and equipment, goods needed for oil refining. So exports will have a setback here. And import restrictions would be that would be your import restrictions. That means European Union cannot buy crude oil or refined products, petroleum products or coal or other solid fossil fuels, gold, steel, iron, wood, etc. from say Russia, right? So these are, of course, these bans are implemented by European Union's custom authorities, and this is just done because of what is going on due to the turmoil between Russia and Ukraine, and European Union is giving support to Ukraine, right? So, any questions till now? Because I don't know if I'm going too fast or it's.
I think we'll open the floor for questions at the end of the lecture.
All right. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So going ahead with these sanctions. Now, pre-sanction, the oil cost was around $80 per the cost of natural gas price has increased. So what is happening here is these sanctions in Russia with these surges has been increasing price of oil. And because of these bans and sanctions, Russia has also cut 80% of its natural gas supply to Europe. The imposition of bans and sanctions by European Union was for Russia to face import and export crunch. However, this actually backfired because Russia was prepared for this financial war by the West and therefore has been working for, I think, years for this war and has found alternative markets from Saudi Arabia, China, Africa, and India. What's even more interesting is that it was in news a couple of weeks ago that President Biden had gone to visit Saudi Arabia, and they were focusing on how Saudi Arabia can increase their production and thereby reduce the price of the oil in the coming months too, because of the increase in oil prices, which is of course reaching rockets high. However, what was outcome of the discussion was that Saudi Arabia said that the decision is not taken by OPEC countries alone, but OPEC countries plus. So that's going to be somewhere in August. I think first week of August they're going to be meeting. Its alternative markets. But however, Russia, on the other hand, has been selling its oil to Saudi Arabia and, of course, found China, Africa, India as its alternative markets. And even more interesting is that now the question here actually comes is, why would Saudi Arabia, considering the second largest producer of oil, importing oil from Russia? Now, and Russia is the third largest. So the reason being that Saudi Arabia is importing cheap Russian oil to finance their own domestic consumption. And they are exporting their own oil to the rest of the world and European Union for that matter at an expensive price. Therefore, the supply remains the same. However, they're increasing the price decided by OPEC plus. So no matter what, the routing is only different here, but there is no actual, if you look at Russia has been able to sell or export its oil to alternative markets. So, and what's even more surprising is that we were expecting that due to the war, the ongoing war, Russia will, the growth rate of Russia will fall down by 4%. But however, right now the IMF actually said that Russia is actually, the economy of Russia is doing much better than what it was before, and it's actually growing at 6%. So coming to, as Bloomberg survey says, 2022, Europe is going to face a 55% chance of recession threat over the next year and fears a very long and cold winter as Russia cuts down the gas flow. Now, like this, I've already explained to you that Europe has no alternative to natural gas, and that most of it comes from Russia. And 40% it is used for residential purposes, heating, cooking, 35% is used in industry, and 15% for electricity. So, and this surge in energy prices is also driving inflation to a record high. Yeah. Moving ahead. So coming to my conclusion, what has been the impact? Again, European Union has begun asking countries to ration their energy supply because right now they're in an energy crisis situation. They do not have enough energy to, of course, there's a long winter coming. They need to heat their homes. There is cooking gas needed. Natural gas is really needed in the countries. So they're trying to look at alternative ways to increase their or renewable resources to increase their energy supplies and reduce their natural gas consumption by 15%. Energy rationing would also mean decrease in all economic output in all the industrial manufacturing centers of Europe. And what we have seen is that if you look at the 4 topmost industrial manufacturing hubs of European Union are actually producing much lesser than what they were earlier. So this is going to definitely hit the economic belt. Exceptionally high natural gas and electricity prices will also do their part in causing business competitiveness, consumer confidence to nosedive in Europe. So this is going to really affect their economic output. And like I said, Russia provides for 40% of Europe's natural gas through Nord Stream, and this has been cut off. So European recession seems inevitable in the coming years. So this is, in a very brief, I have explained you the economic repercussions. But if you want me to explain anything before and after, more than happy, or we could make it an interactive session where we could have, and these are the select references. So yeah, I'm happy to take up questions, if any, or anything else. Yeah, so I thought I was talking to myself, but I was just rechecking that. Yes. Could we have questions or?
Well, that was a very detailed analysis, ma'am. Thank you so much. We do have a bunch of questions, and so I can start.
Actually, I can't. Yeah, should I stop presenting?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we have first question from Madan Joshi from our Facebook page. He asks, like, what can be the impact of Russia-Ukraine war on food and energy security worldwide? Like,
so, yeah, thank you for the question. Sorry, I forgot the name.
Madan Joshi.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madan, for the question. See, global impact is definitely going to be there. Like I said, initially when I started explaining international trade, that's when I talked about how it's impacting Europe directly and then us indirectly. Yes, Russia is exporting a lot of wheat to Europe. So any country, when you stop production, if there is going to be economic impact to it, because because of, see, even Ukraine provides a lot of food product, right? You've literally destroyed the country. So not a direct impact, I would say, but indirect impact, yes, which is going to impact Europe, and then of course their exports and imports indirectly going to impact the rest of the world. Is that, I mean, does that answer?
Yeah, I think it does. Okay, so another, we have a YouTube comment by Akansha. Okay, so she asked that in this globalized world like we live in, the war will pose challenges across the globe, as it's true. So, what are the challenges for India in this regard, and what can be the way forward for that?
So challenges is in terms of energy. So what we are importing from Russia is a very small amount, right? 1.8%. The rest is coming from Saudi Arabia. Now it all depends on what Saudi Arabia and I would not say Saudi Arabia, OPEC Plus decides in August what's going to happen to the energy situation in terms of oil prices, crude oil prices. That will have an impact to us as well, because we've seen the rise in the price of petroleum and oil refining. So I think that would be the impact. So there's somebody who's written a message. I think there's a question there. How will Germany ensure energy security vis-a-vis its strategic autonomy after the Russian pipeline failed? Right now, this is going to be a very debatable issue for Germany, because so I'll just explain you a little bit more in terms of how the pipeline is. There is Nord Stream 1, and then the 2, which is basically from Russia, if going connecting Germany. So then from Germany it goes to the rest of the Europe. So how will Germany ensure that? Is very debatable. It's going to be depending, because yes, they absolutely in need of, because they don't have any other alternative sources. And being an extreme poor country, they definitely need the energy, and especially the natural gas. So after they, and of course, ever since Russia has stopped the supply to Germany, I'm assuming there is definitely going to be a bilateral talk there, or I'm not a German counterfeit to give you guidance as to how they're going to do it, but yeah. The gas is completely linked to them, and they need it themselves. So what will they decide? I don't know. We will see. Actually, all of this is very much determined in the OPEC Plus event that's happening, I think, in August, first week sometime. So everything is going to be, I think, after that, there will be a lot of debate on what are going to be the repercussions for which country per se.
Definitely. So one of our research associates, Shubham, he has one question. So he asked that Russia and Ukraine, these are both like major commodities, producers. So what kind of disruptions can be expected in the coming days, like with the crisis?
What kind of, if I've understood the question correctly, that what are going to be the disruption per se in the coming?
Disruption, because these are commodity producers like wheat and all. So what could be the disruptions with respect to that?
So the point I talked about, the short term issue in terms of food shortage, and did I clear that? Actually, I don't know if I did mention it. Food shortage is going to be definitely there, and that is definitely going to be there. But alongside, it's already there, and that is what even the energy crisis has actually led to high soaring price in food grains. And the other thing, like I said, mentioned was that food crops which were initially imported and exported from Ukraine and Russia vis-a-vis, that has been disrupted already. So there is, of course, food shortage. There is going to be security issues. There's going to be increasing prices in the coming months for sure. So, but short term, not long term. Long term effect is not going to be there. There are
On that,
alternative sources to providing food and food products. Yeah.
on that line, we have a question from Twitter that is it high time that the world security architecture must be rethought? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
World's architecture.
World security architecture.
World security architecture.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely could be rethought about it. But you see the allies, when I talked about NATO and then we talk about NAFTA. So these are allies amongst the neighboring countries. So if you ask per se, I don't know about world architecture. If I was to, really change, I would want to change something about India. We're being surrounded by enemies. So our security, per se, we could really think of. But global, I am not sure, and how we could restructure it, I really don't know. I wouldn't be the best judge here. I'm not into geography per se.
I think we do have a few questions and queries in the chat box. Sakshi, yes, she's asking, can we conclude that European sanctions has backfired since it's Europe, which is expecting an upcoming recession instead of Russia? How can that
Absolutely.
be addressed?
Absolutely. So I just read that question. So yes, Sakshi, thank you so much for your question. Absolutely, these sanctions have backfired completely because they were under the impression that they could restrict their import export, that will hit their Russian economy and bring it down. But that didn't happen because Russia found out alternative markets, has been selling completely to Saudi Arabia. Like I said, I mentioned it, Africa, China, India. So yes, it's completely backfired. And more sanctions. And the sanctions have not been so imposed. Of course, it has been imposed lately, but they were there earlier since 2014. So there have been sanctions from European to Russia for a while now. So but this time I think Russia was completely prepared and has been preparing for this financial war with the West. So yeah,
Okay.
does that answer your question, Sakshi? I hope so.
Okay. We have another interesting question from asked by Siddhant on our Instagram page. So he asks, is weaponizing dollar finance likely to lead to a significant shift away from the dollar as the dominant international currency?
Sorry, can you repeat again? What?
Is weaponizing dollar finance likely to lead to a significant shift away from the dollar as the dominant international currency?
Mm, I wouldn't really say it was weaponizing, but I would. So you are sorry. Who addressed the questions? Can I get the name?
It's by Siddhant from our Instagram page. I don't think he's here.
Okay. Siddhant, thank you for the question. I'm not sure if I will be able to address this answer correctly because I don't know. I don't really think we are weaponizing dollar right now in any way. Of course, somewhat the West is responsible for the tragedy of what is happening right now, and I would call certain reasons and certain sanctions responsible for it as well. I would also say that US is also trying to, being the superpower here. But how are we weaponizing the dollar? I don't know if I've justified that answer per se.
That's a bit tricky, I guess. Okay, so there's one question from me that since we as a think tank, we have a special emphasis on China, right? So
Okay.
how will China be impacted from this war? And where do you see Chinese economy going in the next couple of years?
I don't really see China getting impacted. I mean, direct impact, no. Indirect impact, not really. I haven't actually my little limited knowledge on that front. Not following too much on the Chinese economy, but yes, what I feel is that they are not getting directly impacted for sure. What is, in fact, the positive points here for China would be is that getting cheap access to the energy, the oil from Russia, and of course alternative markets. What they will get impacted is by their, and if actually they have been impacted since COVID-19 in terms of their export import. So the growth per se is not happening because of these various restrictions. Of course, COVID-19 is somewhat responsible. And then right now, this Ukraine-Russia war, not so much. Not like I said, directly.
Okay. I think there's another from Sakshi. She's asking, what are your views regarding China's role in bolstering Russia's stance amid the ongoing crisis?
Biggest supporter. One big supporter. Trying to be safe and getting, I think, positive point from them would be they're getting allies.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that brings us to the last question. I mean, end of the questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So if
I don't know if I've done justice to everyone's questions, if I've understood them correctly or not, but I'm happy to take them more. I've shared my email address with Sakshi. So if anyone wants to ask me a personal question, with regards to the topic or anything else, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, I think they can connect with you via email if they have some questions. So if we have your permission, we can end this session. We'll have a vote of thanks by Sakshi, our RLA intern.
Sure.
Sakshi, are you there?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. It's been such an honor to be a part of this wonderful session. On behalf of our organization, Red Lantern Analytica, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Mrs. Sanjot Singh, Assistant Professor, Gargi College, Delhi University, who had spoken and enlightened us quite fairly on the various economic repercussions that Europe, as a major global power, is going to face amid the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. She has fairly touched upon various dimensions, which includes the foundational aspects of European integration, wherein she also talked about the Eurozone, Schengen area, and European Union in particular. She also highlights the gravity model, wherein she reflects that the size of economy is directly proportional to the volume of imports and exports. She further talks about major trading partners, composition of trade, and various repercussions that is going to be inflicted on Europe because of the war. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable insights and for making out time to be there with us today. I also like to thank our founder and director, Mr. Abhishek Ranjan, without whose guidance this session would not have been possible, and he has been guiding us throughout. Thank you so much, Shalini Arya, our moderator and associated RLA, who has carried out the webinar quite smoothly and in an interactive fashion. And last but not the least, thank you everyone. Thank you to all the participants who have joined us today for an insightful session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Shalini. Thank you, Sakshi, for inviting me today. And I hope I did justice to the topic that was given to me. Thank you so much.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am, for making time from your busy schedule as an expert speaker for this session. And we do look forward in future as well to ma'am inviting you in our various other webinars as well.
Sure, looking forward.